your girlfriends are going on a trip, you want to go on the trip, but you are relying on a credit card. Exit the WhatsApp group. Just say no. Hi guys, welcome back to Yanga today and welcome back to another video. If you are seeing my face for the first time, my name is Yanga, and in this video, as the title suggests, I want to chat to some indicators or signs that you are actually doing well with your finances, even if you may be feeling broke or feeling like you are not doing well most of the time. The reason why I was so inspired to make this video is essentially because the conversations around being financially responsible often center around the very obvious factors. For example, someone who has absolutely no bad debt, or someone who has a fully funded emergency account that can cover their living expenses for 3 to 6 months. And while this is all great, and these are all things that we need to, be aspiring for or towards, the average person may not be there yet. And I wanted to talk to the average person to sort of unpack the signs that are more subtle, but are still signs that you are on the right track, and to zoom in a little bit more closely as well to someone who is in South Africa. So from a South African perspective, as much as the challenges that we face are not unique to South Africa, but I think they can be more pronounced by virtue of the fact that we do have the highest unemployment rate globally. And that in and of itself means that there's certain types of challenges that we're probably going to experience a little bit more than someone who is not living in the specific country. So the first sign that you are actually doing well financially, even if it does not necessarily feel like it, is you are able to honor your debts, pay your debt without taking on more debt. And this might sound counterintuitive, because why would I say someone who has debt is doing well financially? So the emphasis that I want to make here is that you are not taking on new debt. The reality is a lot of people are in debt, but if you're someone who is able to service your debt, in other words, you're not missing your installment, you're not in arrears, you're paying off your debt, and on a month to month you can see that balance decreasing, or on a year to year you can see that there is some improvement, and you're not taking on debt, you're actually on the road to success. I recently read an article that was speaking to the debt income ratio for the average South African household, and that ratio is 65 to 70%. In Rand terms, what that essentially means is that for the average South African household, if you're bringing in 100 Rand, 65 Rand is going to servicing debt, which leaves you with about 35 Rand of that 100 Rand to do everything else, to buy food, to buy the electricity, to live, basically. And you can see how alarming and concerning that figure is. And that's why, for me, I wanted to say that if you are someone who's not taking on more debt and you are actively working on reducing your debt levels, then you're actually doing well financially, even if it doesn't feel like it. The second thing that is a good sign that you are doing well financially is that you are actually in the same place. And when I talk about being in the same place, I'm not talking from a growth perspective. Of course, you want to be growing as a person in one way or another. But what I am actually referring to is that your lifestyle has not exponentially exceeded the growth in, let's say, your income levels. A lot of the times when there is a financial reprieve in our finances, in some shape or form, we have a little bit of breathing room, we feel as though we need to elevate our lifestyle to now match that. We want to upgrade our car, we want to now live in a specific neighborhood, we only want to eat from specific restaurants. And I don't want to be misunderstood here, because I'm someone who I love the soft life. I love nice things. If you know me, you know that I really love, enjoying my life, if I could put it that way. But I'm very intentional about that. Whatever I do, I make sure that it's coming from an authentic place. But if you are someone who is constantly upgrading their life and it is done so that people can perceive you in a specific way, it's a dangerous game. It's just danger zone all the way through. So if you are someone who's still in the same place, even though, like I said, your finances have had some form of a reprieve, you're actually winning financially because your salary is not trying to compete with this lifestyle that you are now engaging in that's constantly elevating. So that's actually a sign that you are doing well. And then the next sign that you are doing well financially, even if it doesn't feel like it, is that you are not derailed when you have a mini emergency. And essentially, when you have a mini emergency, you're not forced to take on more debt to handle that specific emergency. A practical example with regards to this is, for myself, I do have a mini emergency fund. And the reason I wanted to have this mini emergency fund stemmed from when I got my car for the first time and I hit a pothole and I needed to replace a tire. And I remember how frustrated I was with having to now part with 2,000 Rand in my budget for that specific month. And I thought to myself, okay, this means that I need to have a pot of money that can cover my excess on my car or cover the tire or whatever the case may be. So this will also be very subjective from one person to the next. You know relatively where your sweet spot is going to fall. But why I think this is a good sign that you are doing well is because for the average person, you're not really going to be at a place where you have 6 months worth of your living expenses saved up somewhere. That would be great, and you should definitely work on that. But sometimes we feel that because we don't have the main emergency fund in place, or we're still working towards that emergency fund, that the mini emergency fund doesn't count for anything. But if you're that person who has that 500 Rand that's set aside in their budget, that if something shakes in the month, it doesn't shake you too much because you have a little bit of money that you can tap into, then you're actually doing well financially, even if it does not feel like it. The next sign that you are actually doing well financially, even if it doesn't feel like it, is you are able to say no. A lot of people find themselves going into debt to please people, whether it is from the perspective of you don't want to be left out, people are going, your girlfriends are going on a trip, you want to go on the trip, but you are relying on a credit card. Exit the WhatsApp group. Just say no, and you are able then to essentially exercise delayed gratification. It doesn't mean that you're never going to be able to experience that, but it means that by the time you are able to experience that, you are able to actually enjoy the experience without it taking, you going into debt to experience that. So people who are able to say no, when people ask you for money and you genuinely don't have the money, you don't now get into a corner to try and please that person. If you don't have the money, you don't have the money. So being able to say no is a great indicator that you are well on your way to financial freedom and getting your finances in order. The last sign that you are doing well with your finances, which is a little bit of a two-in-one, is that you are able to face your finances and you seek out financial literacy or financial knowledge. And definitely is a two-in-one. The first part of this point is that you are able to face your finances. When people aren't able to face their finances, it's usually because they don't have a handle on their debt. And there's also studies on that, even from a South African context, to say that a lot of people are actually unable to manage their debt. So if you're someone who has some form of tracking of your spending, you have a budget in place, you're able to look at your bank account and understand what you are spending your money on and face your finances and plan to say that, okay, in the next 2 months, this is the problem that I need to sort out with regards to my finances, you're on the right track. And the other part of the conversation is to say that you seek out financial knowledge. I am someone who, like I said, personal finances is just something that I'm really passionate about. So I don't get bored reading up on these type of things. I don't get bored when it comes to listening to certain types of ideas, whether it's podcasts, whether it's going to seminars. Even now, I'm going to be going to a JSE seminar this month on investing. And for me, why this is so important is essentially because for example, let's take investing in the stock market. A lot of people have fear with regards to that because they don't want to lose their money. And that is a It's a fair fear, but it's not necessarily justified. And the reason I say it's not justified is because you need to have enough data at your disposal to make the decision. But if you have the data but you don't interrogate the data, then it's difficult to be making an informed decision. So you need to actually seek out the knowledge, watch the videos. I think there's so many great content creators on YouTube who are making personal finance content. Watch that content and gain some understanding as to how you can get into the stock market. You don't even need that much money. I started investing when I was just a trainee, and if you know how much a trainee accountant earns, you know that it's not a lot, but I made a way. So seek out that knowledge and act on that knowledge as well. You need to start. So yeah, I think for me, those are essentially some of the signs that you are actually doing well financially, even if it doesn't feel like it. I hope that this video has shed some light and given you a little bit more of a boost to keep going and gaining momentum with regards to getting a handle on your finances. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for tuning in.